T-minus 3 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man,
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes,
exclusive. Oh,
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up, rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up, rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up, rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
you are now tapped into the coolest reptile podcast in the world. Holy Lizard Session. What is good? I'm your boy MJ. Fuck, that was a huge tap. If this is your first time tapping in, what is good? Happy Sunday. Fuck, man, what a great Sunday. About to get better. But do your boy a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. That way you're on top of every single That way you're on top of every single podcast I drop here on the Trop Talk with MJ podcast YouTube channel. Drop a comment. Let me know how you're liking these, man. Let the guests know what you like. Shout out to my early birds. I see all you trappers in the fucking building, man. Thank you so much for spending your Sunday with us. It's going to be a great episode, like I said. But you guys know how we get things started on this YouTube channel. For the freshest and bestest rodents delivered to your doorstep, Cold Blooded Cafe, #1 in the game. Go to www.coldbloodedcafe.com. $30 flat rate shipping straight to your doorstep. Shout out to Steven, shout out to Desiree and the entire Cold Blooded Cafe team. They are actually hiring. Man, if you're in the Indianapolis area or if you're looking to get just a different chapter in your life, hit up Desiree, hit up Steven, and go see what they can do for you, man, over at Cold Blooded Cafe and Reptile. Shout out to the family. Shout out to John and Alex over at Sim Container, my brothers. I want to say shout out to John specifically. He facilitated this episode. I did have a few words. I talked to Bryan at Tinley. It was actually at the Banana Bar, and I told him right then and there I wanted to bring him on the show, but I hadn't talked to him since. So, anyways, John hooked this up. I appreciate you, John. Thank you so much, guys. Do me a favor. First off, put your eggs inside of a sim container. It's the way to go. Less steps, less stress. If it's a sim, it's a win. And then please go over to their Instagram and give them a follow. Check out their monitor program. They have amazing stuff going on with their monitors. I have some of their productions, and I love them. Mac Dre and Alice, thank you so much, guys, for your support. Shout out to Steven and Ashley over at Focus Cube Habitats, Flex in Texas, all day, every day. PVC built enclosures. They are the shiznit, man. They are, they could do stuff custom for you. I mean, they're just on another level. Go check them out. Hit them up on Instagram and go to their website. Place an order today. Shout out to Freedom Breeder, #1 stainless steel racks in the United States. Jesse, appreciate you so much for your support. Shout out to the entire Freedom Breeder crew. Thank you so much, guys. #1, I'm telling you, you cannot beat Freedom Breeder. And then #1 ball python breeder in my heart for sure, Miguel Garcia, always evolving pythons. The big dog himself. Thank you so much for your support, big homie. I appreciate it. Shout out to Tina. Shout out to Jesse, the entire AEP family. I love you guys. Please go give him a follow on Instagram. Check out his YouTube channel, and definitely go make sure you see what he has available on Morph Market, because his season is going to be ridiculous. So just be ready. Shout out to my big dog. And then shout out to my homie Alan, my big bro right here, Amazing Basins. If you're into boreal snakes, if you want to learn more about basins, if you want to possibly become a basin owner, any of those, go to Instagram, type in Amazing Basins, give my boy a follow, check out his passion, his projects with the basins, and then join his Patreon page if you ever really want to become one of his owners of one of his productions. I'm telling you, it's the way to do it. Shout out to my boy Alan. Thank you so much for your support, big dog. I appreciate you so much. And then shout out to Blake Stewart over at SD Identity Stewart Design, doing big things with many big breeders. If you're looking to do this for the full time, and you better invest with the best. That means fully go in on your branding, man. Branding, marketing is all a part of what you got to do. So please, shout out to Blake Stewart. But if you are really wanting to take your shit to the next level, go to Stewart Design, see what they can do for you. Appreciate you, Blake. Shout out to Mark Bailey over at Mark Bailey Reptiles OG, Triple OG. Please go over to his Morph Market and check out what he has available. Definitely a pioneer in this fucking game on all levels. Thank you so much, Mark. Shout out to the leaders of the industry. Rami over at the Reptile Super Show, throwing the sickest show on the West Coast. I'm telling you, man, make it a part of your agenda sometime this year. Go to a Reptile Super Show. I'm telling you. All right. And then on top of that, make sure you head over to NARBCs, because you never know what kind of fucking time you're going to have at a North American Reptile Breeder Convention. I'm telling you right now, shout out to Bob, Ashley, Brian Potter for throwing such an amazing event. I'm just telling you, man, I've met some crazy legends at these shows, and I cannot wait to go to the next show. So please, guys, I'm telling you, if you really want to change in this, if you really want to feel what this hobby could do for you, go to a reptile show. Go to one of these shows. I'm telling you right now. Reptile Super Show, NARBC, all day, every day. Shout out to Phil Goss and US ARC. The fight will never stop, guys. Please head down. If you're not a US ARC member, you don't know what US ARC is, do your boy a favor right now. Head down to the link. Click on the US ARC link. See what you can do for us. Become a part of the team. Become a part of the fight. And let's make sure no one's going to fuck with our animals, man. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. Shout out to Phil Goss. Appreciate everything you do. Cannot wait to hang out with Phil at the next US ARC auction. And all my other US ARC homies. It's going to go down. I appreciate you guys so much. And head over to YouTube and subscribe to the US ARC YouTube channel. If you want to know what I have going on other than the podcast and whatnot, if you want to know what I breed and what my passions are as far as keeping animals, best thing you can do is head over to MJ Exotics Cartel with an A, not an E, on Instagram. Go give your boy a follow, and then also check out my podcast's Instagram page as well, Trap Talk with MJ Podcast. Appreciate all my Twitch viewers. I gotta say, if you guys want to support me more than a like, subscription, or a comment, man, I appreciate any donation. You guys like to send me donations. I can't believe it, but shout out to you guys, man. If you're out there and you want to support what I'm doing, because I do this full time, that's a fact. But anyways, if you want to send any donations, feel free to shoot it to Exotics Cartel with an A, not an E, to PayPal. And then also send a super chat. If you got a question for Bryan, if you have something you really, really want to get out there and you need an answer to it, send a super chat, and it's a win-win, man. We send that super chat over to US ARC, and we get your fucking question answered by a legend like Bryan Waterloo. That's how that goes down. Last but not least, shout out to my Patreon members, my trappers, my fucking day ones. Appreciate you guys so much. If you out there want to become a part of the Trap family, the Trap Patreon family, we get together every Sunday, like after this podcast, Trap Talk Zoom session, face-to-face with all my trappers. You get invited to special events. All of this VIP shit goes down on the Trap Talk Patreon family. So don't hesitate, man. Come join the family. As soon as you join the Patreon family, you get tapped into the Discord. Tons of cool shit at the Discord. And I just want to say, appreciate all my Patreon members. You guys are the sickest, fucking badass motherfuckers I know. So appreciate you guys. Can't wait to hang out with you guys after the show. And yeah, that's that, man. What is good? Who is here? Who's ready to rock and roll? Who's ready to hear some fucking lace knowledge? I know I am. Shout out to Lemmy Jake Hole. What up, Jake Hole? Trap Talk Patreon fan member all day, every day. Big Mike, 1776 Exotics. VIP Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. The homegirl Chantel, Pacific Rim Serpents. Team Zoo Dreams in the building. Patreon member all day, every day. Appreciate you so much. Nate Dog, what's up, Nate? Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. The homie Dom, 702 Serpents. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Got Australia's Lizard Morphs in the building. I love it when we got some Aussies in the house. What's up, Australia? Thank you for tapping in. Private Sector Pythons. What is good? Thanks for tapping in. The homie Shane Henderson. What's up, Shane Henderson? Thanks for tapping in. Wise Guy. What's up, Wise Guy? Thanks for being here. Eric's Morph Factory. What is good? Damn, we got Uncle Mike in the building. Uncle Stefani. What's up, buddy? Thanks for being here. I love Uncle Mike, man. What a guy. Please go give this guy a follow on Instagram right now. I'm telling you right now, this is the man right here. All right. Appreciate you, Mike. Thank you for your support. Sunshine State Sulfurs, what is good? Lizard, man, Trap Talk, Patreon family member all day, every day. What is good, player? Thanks for being here. The homie Father Blue. What's up, Father Blue? Yeah, Father Blue's hella excited for this episode. John Wilcox. What's up, player? How's your arm doing, player? Damn, this fool got a gnarly accident. Respect. Dar S. What's up, Dar S? Thanks for tapping in. Daniel Taylor. What is good? Thanks for tapping in. Python Junkies. What is good? Thanks for tapping in. The homie Triple G. What's up, homie? The homie Finny Fin. Go give this guy a follow right now on Instagram. My homie is up and coming. Don't sleep on my man, or he'll fucking clinch you. You know, he has some sick-ass Muay Thai skills. Don't fuck with my boy. Shout out to my homie Finn. Shout out to Mary Pythons. What's up, Mary Pythons? Mary in the building. Thanks for being here. Aurelio, what's up, player? Thanks for being here. Look who it is, Matt Summers, after his rendezvous in Vegas with his new girlfriend. Wow, what a time. My man did not go cheap, too. Good tickets. Fucking damn. VIP pool service in Vegas. That's my man, Matt Summers, man. He knows how to do things. Please go give this guy a follow on Instagram and subscribe to his YouTube channel because he's fucking consistent and he kills it. Matthew Summers, a.k.a. Trap Talk Travel Management at its finest. Thank you, bro. I appreciate your support. Isaac Rodriguez, what is good? Thanks for tapping in. Let's see. Who else is here? Bods. Well, the homie Bods in the building. Trap Talk Patreon member all day. And let's end it with Aiden B. What's up, Aiden B? Thanks for tapping in. All right, guys. Very excited, like I said, because guess what? You know, I have a new craze, I guess I could say, over the last 2 years. Well, I want to say legit year. Ever since getting a lace monitor into my collection, what a change that's been for my love with reptiles. I've always loved reptiles. Don't get it wrong. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we all love snakes, but, you know, snakes either live in a drawer, or they're by themselves fucking doing their thing in a 4x2 or whatever. But these monitors, man, these are like fucking dogs. I'm telling you, it's different. It's life-changing. This man right here, from what I've heard, mad respect. He's done a lot of things with lace monitors. Either way, he's tapping in right now. Just had a fucking sick-ass monitor fest, which I can't wait to. I missed out for sure, which I'm going to be there next year. But anyways, here we have Bryan Waterloo from Waterloo Lace in the fucking building. What's up, Bryan?
How you doing?
Thanks for being here, buddy.
Well, thanks for having me.
Dude, how was Monitor Fest? Let's get this out of the way. How was Monitor Fest? Let's talk about it.
Let's see. There's the awesome logo that Adeline Robinson did.
I was going to say that looks like Adeline's work. That looks very professional.
Yeah, she did a killer job. She came up with the logo, and then I made little badges, which I have a whole bunch right here left over, and the T-shirts. But Monitor Fest almost didn't happen. The Friday before, I go to work, and ended up I had appendicitis. I was in the hospital Friday, Saturday, and got out that Sunday. And then the following Saturday was Monitor Fest. So came pretty close to not happening.
Oh, my God. You good? How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I caught it in time, but it just – there was cages that I was in the process of working on that I was not able to complete. And, you know, it kind of put a damper on things. So I have various cages and, you know, that are built, they're being worked on, they're semi-built. I was actually working on a cage today for some cool sailfin lizards that I'm getting. So I was working on a little pump inside of there to get the water filtrated. My buddy Tony came over and gave me a hand with it. He's actually done a lot of the concrete work with some of my bigger cages as well. But yeah, Monitor Fest was a great turnout. The weather was perfect. Everyone loved the food, and there was plenty to drink. And, you know, I appreciate a lot of the people that came up because, you know, fuel being the cost that it was, people flying in from all over the place. I mean, yeah, it was a pretty decent turnout. I think there was 60 people here, so it was a really good time.
Yeah, yep. I mean, I kind of lived through Uncle Mike Stefani's stories. He was having a good time, I can tell you that much.
Oh, yeah.
Riding around on your your golf cart and whatnot, and showing us where all the magic doits at, all the doit, and all the good soil and whatnot. And I'm telling you what, Bryan, I if everything goes well, I hope next year goes down because I'm gonna make it a priority. That shit will be on my calendar, and I will not miss Monitor Fest next 2023. I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah, definitely. And,
all right, so
discussing it a little bit here and there on. You know, what worked out, what could be improved, what would make it better. I think I probably could have did a little bit better with broadcasting it to more people, but I'm not really a big social media guy. I actually recently just got on Instagram, so.
Well, listen, I am. So maybe I could help you with that, okay? We could talk more about that. Come closer to Monorfest next year. I would like to do anything to help.
Yeah, definitely. And Mike Stefani is, I've known Mike since, the early 80s. Yeah, Mike definitely helped a lot with promoting it and kind of getting a spark up my ass to do it.
All right, so Bryan, let's get down to business here, man. I'm so curious because lace seems to be your bread and butter, but I want to know, at what point in your life did you stumble across the whole breeding with monitors is what I want to get down to with you.
Basically, the lace I pursued pretty much my whole life, and as I'm sure you're familiar with, and probably quite a few other people out there, they're not something that you get like, I'll get it next year. They come around once in a blue moon. Obviously, they spiked in the last 7-8 years.
Right.
But that being said, I've tried getting them. I've been to Europe to try to get them. I went to Australia to study them and research them. I was only there for a couple of weeks, which might have been a minute as far as that's concerned. But prior to that, I'm a real big Niloticus guy. I love Niles. I love ornates. I worked a lot with croc monitors, which unfortunately they banned in Illinois for some jag-off reason. But
how long has that been?
That ban has been on for, I think, 5 years now.
Wow.
6 years, something like that. Yeah.
For any reason, do you know of? Like, why croc monitors? I'm confused.
Because there was, from what I understand, a series of photos that were going around the internet that were like, this is why you shouldn't own a croc monitor. And some of them I know for a fact were actual, like a 3-foot bull shark bit someone. They're like, see, that's a croc monitor. So the powers that be decided that, you guys shouldn't have them out here. And they banned them. And now, you got to go through so much red tape to get them, which I was in the process of doing. But the whole purpose was to then breed them. I had crocs in the past. I've gotten eggs from them before. And basically, the government body that's in charge of it, they're like, well, you can't breed them. You can't. I'm like, well, then there's no point in keeping them. I don't need a lone croc monitor just to have. And I'd pay, a shitload of money to have insurance and then do like reptile shows, like educational shows. It's like I work full time. I work, I can't do educational shows like on a Tuesday. Right. So it's just kind of red tape for them to, I guess, more or less weed out as many people as they can. But it's bullshit. I mean, there's a lot more other things going on in Illinois that you could be worried about than some fucking lizard that, hasn't killed anybody as far as I know.
Respect. Now, I'm curious, what year was it here, Bryan, where you really started, building your lace foundation and building their own enclosures? Like, when did you really start rolling that out?
Basically, I came close to getting lace like in the 90s, and they were. When I went out to Europe, I went to George Horn's house in Germany, and I got to see all the lace he has out there. He had a ton of them. Plus, he had quite a few in different zoos throughout Germany, throughout the Netherlands, basically all over, Europe. So he was willing, and so was Visser. Gerard Visser was the curator at the Rotterdam Zoo, and they had hatchlings. He's like, yeah, you could have them, but it's up to George because he's the founding partner of it. And the Horneye were just named after George, and he had shipped some to Florida, and they were confiscated because there was a number or a letter off on the permit. And he was, needless to say, pretty pissed because all those animals were pretty much put down, and they're like, can't do anything with them. We can't ship them back. And, so he was pretty burnt. So that blew it. And then years later, there was lace that were at Miami Metro, and Jerry Marzak, I don't know if any Python guys remember him from back in the day. Him and Ross wrote that Python book. He knew I was a big lace guy, and he came across a couple, and that never happened. And then just kind of gave up for a while. And then I heard John, the Dragna, was getting them or had them coming in or something. So I got the tail end of the ones that preceded Don and John Egan. So they've got like the.
Well, and there goes that, right in the middle of a sick-ass history moment. Hopes everyone doing a good time. If you're just now tapping into your boy favorite, we'll come right back. Your boy favorite, hit that like button. Let's get the likes up for the homie Bryan Waterloo, who's just going into detail. Probably cut out at the wrong time. I was very into that story. We'll come back. Any second. How's your Sunday going, guys? What is good? I feel like smoking. I just feel like I just want to keep smoking for some reason. I've been high all day, but I just want to keep smoking. But shout out to everyone who's tapping in. Uncle Mike in the building. Glad you guys are here, man. I'm looking forward to learning more about the lace monitor species because I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting nervous. My pair is getting old. I mean, not old, but they're getting up there where things could go down. So you could probably expect a monitor session pretty consistently here every Sunday as far as like, no offense, listen, shout out to the geckos, you know what I mean? But I need more monitor knowledge. I'm not even going to fucking lie to you. But you never know. I could have people like Sundown Reptiles come back on who's very player in geckos and player in lace monitors and whatnot. Or not lace monitors. What am I talking about? Green tree monitors. Oh, here he is. Bryan Waterloo. Thank you for saving me. Fuck.
Hello.
What happened?
I have no idea. Everything just went blank, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going into the garage where I know I got to.
You're good. Take your time. You're good.
Great signal, and hopefully you can see fine. Not a problem. All right. So
yeah.
Anyway, like I was saying, those animals were pretty much impossible for me to get, and then John had brought the ones in for Don Church and for John Egan, and I found out, got a hold of John. John is another guy I've known, since the early 90s, and we had basically kind of reconnected, and he's like, yeah, I'm getting my bell from him. That was like in 2013 or 2014, and then he ended up with two other ones, and he sold them in Orland, and he sold it to like a museum, and I ended up getting that one of them, and turns out the guy had the other two were females. I got one of the females here on a breeding loan and just started cranking them out. I basically followed that David Schner had told me what he had wrote, and I followed him like there was no tomorrow, and had a lot of conversation with him, online and all that, and
right.
Followed it, and that first year I produced 6 clutches. So, which is, as far as I know, that's for a lace monitor in the space of like 6 months.
Hey, Bryan, you're cutting in.
So basically,
really
I had obviously.
You're cutting in really bad in and out. Do you mind exiting and coming back in? Yeah, just go ahead and exit and come back in. Thank you. What I mean by that is they're getting ready to fucking go down to the adulthood of stuff. Khalil Reptiles, ladies and gentlemen, perfect hair from Canada. What a guy. Love him. Thanks for being here. But yeah, thanks for your guys' patience while we get through these technical difficulties. You already know how this goes. Fucking internet. There he is.
There you go.
All right, cool.
Better?
Yeah. Just go ahead and turn your foot. Yep, there you go. Go ahead. Continue.
All right, so let's see where I left off at. So basically,
six clutches here.
Yeah, the first year, and then we hatched them out. Well, I hatched them out, and I basically, the guy I was kind of partners with who owned that female, he got some, I got some, he got some, I got some, and I had held on to quite a few of them. I think at one point I had like 15 lace here, and I got another female, the other female from him, and I produced, same thing, got her on track and going. But what I did learn and what I try not to do now is a 1-to-1 ratio is perfect. If you got two females and you got a male and you keep going back and forth with them, it never works. I had basically lost any momentum I had going with them because I would kept missing cycles, and it was too hard to keep going, shuffling that male back and forth. It was a lot easier just to go one-on-one. So I actually still have, one, no longer two. My other male just left here. My buddy Rob Faust took the second one born that I ever hatched out, which is a male, back to Texas with him because he's got a bell from me that he's going to try to pair up. So, but my original female, the very first one I hatched out, she's right in front of me in the garage in her cage.
Nice.
And she is actually cycling right now. So, essentially, that recipe that I've followed it's worked like a charm, and it hasn't failed me yet. And a lot of it is essentially the 1-to-1 ratio, just using one male, one female. And the other thing that I do is I cool mine. I'll cool them down for 5 months. I'm in Illinois. I'm outside of Chicago, so the weather out here in the winter is terrible, but waste naturally in the wild shut down anyway, so it's kind of part of their their natural behavior. And it's nice because it's 5 to 6 months of me not having to feed them, clean up shit, nothing. It's just they look miserable, but I usually start shutting them down right around the middle of September, and then usually because it's like a 4-5 week process sometimes. I just gradually start, I cut them off of food, and then I start cutting down on their ambient temperatures, their basking lights, so it gets down to the point to where they're like 65, 70 degrees, and they're only getting like 8 hours of, just ambient light, and that's it. And fresh water.
So they're not getting any
spring. Nope.
Okay.
I don't give them any basking. And I also keep it to where they're, I'm also, as much as I'm not having to do any kind of maintenance. Sorry, it's freaking hot as hell out here and I'm sweating.
Yeah.
It's a lot less maintenance, but I still, you got to keep an eye on them, make sure everything, every once in a while I'll open the cages up and grab them, take a quick look at them, see how they're doing, make sure there's no, something out of the ordinary that I might miss, by not looking at them. Like, yeah, I'll see them in the spring. So you're still kind of involved in them, but it's not anywhere as demanding it is now, where it's like every day I'm cleaning shit, I'm changing water, I'm giving them water. You're all over the place with them. So it's.
So I'm curious, when you do this to them, they basically they are less active, right? They kind of slow down and they're like basically like sleeping a lot is what happens.
Yeah, for the most part, they are they shut down and they look pretty miserable, to be honest with you. I mean, they'll move around a little bit, but for the most part, they're not super active, other than maybe taking a drink or two of water a couple days a week. That's about it.
Right. Okay. And I'm curious.
And then,
Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. That's pretty much their whole cooling process. So, or how they are when they're cooling or brumating, if you will.
So I'm curious, Bryan, in the beginning of you, like in your first year of breeding the laces, I mean, how did you pair them up? I mean, for the most part, did the males have their own enclosures? And then when it came down to pairing, you paired them, or were they cohabing? Like, how did that work?
No, basically, I've always been a firm believer in keeping all my monitors separate. I don't think they really, I've seen people do it. I'm not saying it's not a possibility, but for the most part, I keep them separate. It's a lot easier to feed them. If you have lace or any monitor in general, you know how voracious they are when it comes to feeding. The other half of it too is that they are females are a lot less stressed. So yeah, I have them housed separately, and basically, are you there? I kind of lost you. I don't know if you still hear me.
Yeah, I'm listening. Sorry, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right. I wasn't sure you take a piss or something, but
no,
So basically, I keep them housed separately, and basically after that first initial, once I start warming them back after they've been cooling, and everything is kind of running at the temperatures that they're normally kept at, with the higher basking temps, the higher humidity, higher ambient temps, all that. I basically start cranking the female with food. She's getting food every day, and I am pounding her until she can't eat anymore. And then it's the next day, and the next day, and you go on, and basically they usually go off feed for about a week, 10 days, and they do all the activity with the belly hangs and basking a lot. They drink a lot, and then I'm like, all right, I'm ready for the intros. And 9 times out of 10, when I'm putting my male in there, because they are ready, it's not a lot of running around and being chased. I mean, they're like, all right, let's have at it. And they're very submissive, and they go right into it. And I usually keep them together for about 10 days, and that's about it. And then usually within that 20 to 30 day mark, I got eggs.
So that's one of the first indicators for you is them going off food, then, right? And then the belly hang,
correct?
Or how, right? Okay. And
well,
then
the other thing too, I'm missing out is and another crucial thing too. My nesting is up and running. Pretty much when I'm brewmating them, my nest boxes are going. That is crucial. It's got to always be on. It's always got to be ready to go.
Like there's heat in that nest box, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because it's one of the things that will happen where people. Am I losing you? Or you hear me?
And I can hear you. You're cutting out a little bit, but I can tell you what, Brian. I know you're probably sweating balls, but it's best to find a place and put your phone down and don't move it. This platform is really weird, where if you're moving it around, the connection won't stay solid. So it's always best to find a place to sit and just don't move.
All right.
You might need to exit out too and come back in. That might be better.
Let's see.
We'll get it.
How about that?
Yeah, go ahead and exit and come back in, please, if you don't mind.
All right.
Thank you.
Hang on.
You're good.
All right.
Not my first rodeo. Go and exit. You want me to kick you out? I can kick you out if you need. There you go. Makes it easier. Back. There you go. What is good, everybody? Going through a little technical difficulty. It's usually these monitor guys, man. I think John had problems like this too. Uncle Mike will seem to be good. I think Mike was a good connection, guys. But for the future reference, guys, I'm telling you, if you get on this show, best find a spot and don't move. I know you fuckers like to move around and shit and like, oh, let me show you this. Nah, don't do that. It's gonna fuck it up. For the record, if you're listening out there, potential future Trap Talk guest or recurring guest like Khalil, never had an issue with Khalil's service. Ball python guy, very neat. You know what I'm saying? That's probably why. If you ever have Khalil on a podcast, his internet's going to be perfect. Anyways, here he is.
Okay.
All right.
Better?
Let's see. Let's give it a second. Sometimes it takes a second. Let's see what happens. All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm doing whatever I can to not make the phone move or anything.
Yeah, you're good. All right, we'll give it a second. It'll kick in. All right. So where were we at?
Basically with the nesting and how important that is.
Yes. Please, the nesting, continue.
Yeah. So, like I said, I try to make sure that, or I don't try. I always make sure the nesting is up and running. It's heated. It's ready to go, because it's another thing that, again, because of my 9-to-5 job, I'm not always home to sit there and watch them all day and be like, I don't know if the female is in there digging around the nest or not, but she's going to do a lot of that pre-digging, and she's going to be basically investing all that time and energy to make eggs. So if you don't have the right nesting for it, you go down the tubes at times. That's why I think a lot of people will kind of crap out with breeding monitors, is because, they did everything right. And it's like, well, how about your nesting? Oh, I didn't even have a nest box ready. It's like, you get it, whether it's a nest box or, if it's a species like Sylvator, I mean, you got to have that ready to go, because
Bryan, let's go over how you prepare your nest box. Like, how are your nest box run with temperatures and soil, all that, if you don't mind. Let's break that down.
So basically my nest boxes are, especially for lace, you would think they'd be enormous. They're relatively small. They're probably 13 inches tall, probably 16 inches wide, and maybe 20 inches long, with like a 4-inch center hole cut on one end, and just filled completely to the top with the substrate. It's actually coming out of the entrance hole. Substrate that I use, it's crushed coconut. It's not soil or dirt. It's real similar to like the closest you could get to like the termite fungi. Like when I was in Australia, I seen a termite mound that was mowed they had cleared it, and it just looks like a bunch of like brown matter, just real fine, like coffee grounds almost.
Wow.
So that's what they're burrowing in, and that's where they're laying their eggs. Heat wise, in the past, I've tried, like cane heat mats and heat tape, and this and that, and they all suck, because the cane heat mats, if you could set them up a certain way where they can't get to them, they can work great. What works for me, because I build my own nest boxes, I usually do them out of PVC, and they're not, because of the way I make them. No, they're, it's not the material of it. The material aspect is nice because it's waterproof and it helps retain heat. But I use the big Zoom Med heat pads that you put underneath aquariums, and I just stick it on one side of the wall, and I'll take foil tape and wrap it around it, and I plug it in a little rheostat. And once all that, all the substrate's in there and it's all packed in, it's too hard to basically go in there and screw it to be like, well, there's a temp here, a temp here. So it's a little bit of an adjustment, because once all that stuff is in there and I'm slowly starting to turn on the heat, I got to let it cook overnight. I got to see where my temps are in the morning. And usually what I do is I have it's like a thermometer thing from Weber.
Right.
So if you're cooking like a chicken on a grill, pop it in there and it'll tell you the temp, and that stem on it thing is, I think, 7 inches or whatever. So I drill a couple little holes on the top of that nest box, and I just put it in there, and I get all my different temps. And when I realize, hey, I'm right at that temp that I want. Lace, 85 degrees, nothing less, nothing more. It's always 85.
Like smack in the middle. What level do you want that 85 at? I'm curious, because obviously it's 18 inches tall, right? So
no, it's only like a foot tall. Because a lot of times they'll go down and they'll dig maybe 7-8 inches and then another inch here. I mean, it doesn't have to be real tall. Basically.
Okay. Perfect. So
I know people, foot tall is fine, that have used such a big nest box that, it's the temperatures are so inconsistent, because, you might have one little area where it's like, all right, here's the heat pad right here, or the heat element, and then it's all here is all open, and she's coming in here, and she's like, it might take her a whole week before she finally gets to like, oh, this is where the heat's at. And a lot of times, if it is the case like that, they'll give up. They'll just be like, well, screw it. This is all cold, or it's so hot in here, I can't deal with it.
Bryan, give me the measurements one more time on that nest box. I want to make sure I have that right.
All right. So like 13 inches tall, or a foot, 16 inches wide, and about 20 inches long.
Okay, cool. And then you say 85 is the spot. That's what you want, right?
85 is what they always nest at.
Now, I have another question. The hole you drill, right? I'm assuming that hole needs to be big enough for the female, but small enough to where that male can't get in there. Because I have a nest box, but the fucking male loves it, and he just like he acts like it's his goddamn like little playhouse. You know what I mean? I'm constantly having to repack and shit like that. But I'm assuming
because you got to get them out of there. You answered your own question. Your male, anytime that they're together with the nest box, he's not concerned about anything other than copulating.
Smashing.
Once they are done, like I said, that 10 days that I have them together, he's gone. And the whole time he's in there, that's all he wants to do is breed. So he's got no interest in anything else. He'll eat if you offer sometimes, but for the most part, he is just locked up with that female. He doesn't care about anything else. So if your male is in your female's nest box, you got to get him out of there.
Okay, so you're, because I've been raising these two together since they're babies. I mean, they've been living together, cohabiting, right? Just because I've been told I can do that, but I mean,
you don't have to do that either.
Say what?
You don't have to do that either.
Right. I mean, I talked to Andrew. You know, shout out to Andrew Acevedo, but I talked to him, and he tells me that, you know, a male could get complacent or just kind of not really get in the mood to fuck because it's not, you know, it's always with her, you know. So having it separated and putting it during that prime time is basically how you get it to go down, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Because here's the other thing too is, and I was explaining this to a customer the other day, if you keep them together all the time, you know, that male is constantly, you know, at least once a month, he's going to try copulating. He's going to try breeding with her. And, you know, it adds a lot of stress to your females. Again, now I've seen back in the day when I was on Facebook, I started the Lace Monitor page or Facebook page or whatever. I don't even know what I was running it right now, but a lot of Australian guys were out there, and you know they had 3 or 4 animals in one big giant run in their property, and they never had any problems with them. And power to them. John Egan, another example. John had, I think, 5 or 6 lace in one big enclosure, but John also had to dig the china to get his freaking eggs because, you know, it's like, dude, you got all these other animals walking around in there. So, yeah, your female who's got eggs is, you know, going to be burying them as far down as she can because, you know, you got all these other egg-eating lizards in the cage with her. So,
right.
You know, and you're nesting too, your nest box. It's going to fail too if you don't fill it all the way up to the top. It literally, when I do mine, it's coming out of there, and they have to start digging in that hole to start getting down there. If you leave a little gap, you know, where the hell's my hand, like this, once they get in there, they're like, well, hey, this is a nice warm roost. I'll just start sleeping on there.
That's what's happening. Exactly. They're getting that just a little bit of room, and then they fucking dig like a motherfucker too. You know what I mean? So it's more of a hangout spot now, unfortunately. But I'm gonna work on it. I have a new enclosure being built as we speak, but I'm really considering keeping Mac Dre, which is my male, kind of in his own little digs. You know, I just raised them together. You know, and John told me I could do it along with Alex. I mean, I don't know if they suggested it. I can't remember it, but either way. I have a question for you, Bryan. With your experience, you know, obviously you've had females that you produced for you, correct? So
correct, F2s.
How early are they able to like cycle and stuff like that? Like, how, I mean, when's that usually you see that starting?
Usually like the 2.5 year mark. I wouldn't push them any earlier than that. I know, you know, obviously like Ackies, you could breed them in 6 months. Waters, I've heard 18 months. Lace, and also because I the first year that my hatchlings are out, I give them that whole year. That following year, they're getting cooled. So the earliest I've had mine go is like 2.5 years. Like I have a female right now who March of this year, she just turned 2, and she's getting ready to. She's actually cycling right now. So this will be her first clutch. And this is another thing where, you know, like the familiarity, like, oh, you need to have 2 animals that know each other. And it's like, no, if your female is breeding, that male doesn't give a shit where she came from in Harlem. He will screw her. If she is cycling, he's ready to go.
It's nature, man. This is it's real deal, you know?
Mm-hmm.
No feelings involved.
No. And that, you know, and that's another thing too, is especially with keeping them together, males, they have no courtesy. They'll lay right on top of that female, right on her head if she's basking and he wants to sit there. And they're so much bigger.
It's funny you say that. He like kind of bullies this bitch, and I'm like, dude, this is fucking like what a fucking badass. There's all these multiple basking spots. Like he can lay anywhere he wants, but he chooses to just always lay on top of her. And I'm like, yeah, what is he doing? And I guess it's dominance from what you're saying, right?
I don't think it's so much a dominance thing. I think it's more like, I'm bigger than you, and this is where I want to lay. And if you're underneath it, tough shit, So, but it's just that, and I would think how voracious they are when you're feeding them. You're trying to feed 2 hungry mouths. It's not always easy, and
2 forceps,
and and even then, the other one whips down the meal that much quicker, it's going to go rip the other one out of the other one's mouth. I mean, I just keeping monitors together in the past is just, there's been a couple hairy situations, bites, pretty severe shit. Like I had ornates I had together, and they're cocksuckers with each other. They definitely are another species that once they hit a certain point, it's like you got to separate them because they will basically kill one another. I had blue tails. The pastels I bought from Chris Murray a couple of years ago. I had 3 of them. And one that was like the healthiest of the bunch, he died like a month after I got him. And then the other 2 were doing fine. And came home, and my buddy Bryan came over to check it out. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to take that thing out of the cage. I'm like, I haven't seen either one of them in like a month. And I digged through that whole thing, and I only just came out with 1 lizard. I'm like, you obviously hit the other one. So,
oh my God,
it does happen. But fortunately,
do you notice if it's the male eating the female more or the female eating the male? What's the more common thing that you've noticed?
It's probably males eating other males, or maybe it's a female. It depends on who's the biggest out of the bunch, and then usually your female is going to be less dominant and less physically out than your males. But this last batch of ornates that I was working with, the biggest one out of the bunch was a female, and she just tore the shit out of that male. So it happens sometimes. Like I said, thankfully Lace, they don't really seem to have that kind of a pecking order, but I do know a couple people that I've sold Lace to, found out that, one animal killed the other and another one killed another. I'm like, I don't tell you. I'm like, I've raised them up to a certain length, and then, I start separating them, but I've never had them, like a big group of like 5 or 6 adults that are 4 to 5 feet long. I think you're just asking for trouble at that point.
Now
but,
I want to tap. Go ahead.
Well, like I said, case with Australian keepers, seen it all the time. They got a huge outdoor enclosure, and they got 5 or 6 adults in there that are, living without any problems. So, not saying it can't be done. Just in my experience, from a breeding perspective, it just seems to be a lot easier. Just house separately, and if your goal is to breed them, it doesn't matter where your male's coming from. Your female is got everything going. She's cycling, and it's fair game no matter where he comes from. Because I got animals here that have bred that are they've never been part of my group before. So
I was going to ask you here, Bryan, just want to tap more about your food cycling, right? Because I like I said, there's a 4 or 5 month period where you shut them down. But when you do pick them back up and you start offering them food, is it a diverse diet that you target, or do you have one thing that you like to feed them? Let's kind of get over how you how you cycle the food to them and whatnot, and what you're feeding them.
Rodents, just mice, more mice than rats. I have this year kind of leaning more towards doing pheasant. See how the results of that are, but they do great with the mice. The females, because females are so much smaller than males. Even like medium-sized rats, they just seem to, it's hard for them to swallow them down, and they're always fighting to, like they're scrapping their head to get it, and they finally get it down, and like 1 or 2 of them, and they're kind of stuffed. And I think that just the mice, because they could eat them a lot quicker. They're smaller. You go through a lot more, but they seem to do better on the mice. And then the wild, they're big bird eaters. Tony Harrison, he's out, I think, in Sydney possibly, but he's like a wildlife removal specialist or whatever. And I asked him before with all the lace that he's caught, at somebody's house out there, and I'm like, what do they throw up? He's like, birds. He's like, everything they throw up is birds. It's all I ever see. He's like, 90% of it is birds. So, yeah. But the rodents, even my hatchlings, I don't do crickets. I don't do roaches. I don't do nothing. I get them on chopped up fuzzies, chopped up pinkies right off the bat, and they just take off from there. So,
Bryan, about the way you mentioned how you are slamming the females basically with food until they basically just don't want any, and then that basically is happening to that moment of them shutting off food, right? So every day you're feeding until they shut off, correct?
Correct.
And then basically there's no appetite that female shows until when? Like at what point where that female we will start feeding her again, or what was it until after she lays, or?
For the most part, once they go off that initial feed and I've had them together and they've actually copulated, I could see that they've, basically, the breeding's complete. Well, not the breeding, the copulation part of it. Usually that's just start blowing up even more because now the eggs are starting to get developed even more. Occasionally I will offer, and sometimes they may be taking one or two mice, or a lot of times they just look at it and they walk away. But literally that day, because they usually lay, start digging 9-10 o'clock, usually the lights are just going off and the female's in there, asses out, and she's digging away. And then usually at some point in the morning, mine usually do 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. And then next day I put the lights on, they're wiped out. And then within an hour or two of them completing, depositing the eggs and they're warmed up, they are on fire. They'll eat. You throw a napkin in there, they'll eat it. And that's probably, I got bit on my my left hand. Female had just gotten done, and I was feeding. I knew that she had laid. I'm like, all right, I got to feed her before I go in there to dig the eggs out. Right. And she was sitting on a branch here, and then over here, I opened the door with my forceps, and she just launched and just missed the forceps and the mouse all together and just clamped right on my hand and just nice solid bite. Oh yeah.
Stitches or no?
I've been bit by that female, my big bell male. He's 7 foot, and a nice 5 foot croc monitor. Every one of them required stitches, and like an asshole, I never got them. I just butterflied them and crazy glue. So, but yeah, I probably should have got stitches. Yeah, but I probably should have, but I didn't. So,
I think he's saying out there, if you get stitches, just go get stitches, please.
Yeah. But essentially, that first feeding after they've laid, she'll put away 15, 16 mice, no problem. And then the next day, another 12, 13. Next day, like another 10, another 12. I mean, that first week, they are just going to town.
What size mice? What size mice do you usually like to go for? Like, is it the large, or what do you like to do?
Yeah, like the large. As long as they're not like, just like jumbo, but like the large, because your female's head is, it's this big. It's not a real big head, not compared to the male. Like the male, the pheasant I feed them, the females, they got to take 1 or 2 bites and then do the head churn so they can get the legs in and the head if it's sticking out or whatever. That bell, my other males too, it's like 1 bite and they're like, it's gone. So, but yeah, the mice, that does it. Plus, before the cycle, like both of these females, just yesterday, I gave them 500 milligrams of vitamin D with the calcium kicker in there. I just shove it down the throat of the bird and, give it to them that way. And then that very first.
Why would you want to do that though? Like when would you like to give that to them?
I give that to them when I know that they're starting to cycle. They're starting to blow up. and I've been feeding them for like a week straight where they're eating like every day. And I know that, all right, another couple days of this, they're going to be shutting down. So I try to time it. Kind of comes with experience, I guess, not being a dick. Like, well, you got to do it at this exact day. It's just from doing it. I'm like, all right, I know that, this will probably be a good time to give it to her because she might not be eating the next day or two. So,
Right.
Or as many. So then, right after, like I said, that initial meal that she's getting after she laid, that's the very first thing that she's getting is one of those birds or mouse that's got that 500 milligrams of calcium stuff. Some instances, I've had them where females have, they've not completely like just sucked all the fat out of their body and out of their base of their tail. Like a quick glance, you would think that, she looks a little skinny, but nothing that bad. But I've had some bigger clutches too, where like my female's tail base just looked completely like nothing because she just, she laid like 12, 13 eggs. So,
Wow.
Yeah,
Man,
that's
12, 15 eggs. That's a lot. Bro.
Yeah, and that's only happened like 1 or 2 times with me, and not every one of those eggs are gonna make it either.
What's your average egg count when it comes to your clutches? What are on the average? What are you getting?
The first couple of years, right around 6, and then I've had a couple where it would average like 8 to 10, but I'd say 6 to 8 is a real respectable, no bullshit kind of average because it's kind of consistent. Like I said, you'll get like your first clutch. This one female, this is the first time she's gonna breed. I'll probably get 3 or 4 eggs out of her, and I'm sure maybe 2 of them will make it. But then that following clutch, I'll probably get like 5, and then the clutch after, probably like 5 or 6, and they're usually all pretty good. And then that following year, and as they go on, like I said, they kind of average like the 8 to 10, and it's with the size of the female. I think it definitely helps with it. But then again, I've seen small females that produce just an insane amount of eggs for how big the female is, and it's like, wow, I don't even know how you had all those eggs stuffed in your body, but I don't think it's consistent. I think it's, a one-off that happens every once in a while. So
how many of your females, I mean, I know some people say that some laces could give you 2 clutches in a year. I mean, you're not, that's not a part of your program, right? Like, are you doing just once a year with your girls, or how many clutches are you getting a year?
I usually shoot for 3. Like I said, that first year I got 6 out of that female.
From one female?
Yeah.
What? I didn't catch that part. I didn't know you said 6 from one female. Wow.
Yep.
How the hell? Like, that means she was always late. So did you leave the male in there the whole time? I'm confused.
No, because I knew that after that first clutch, again, everything that Croc Doc had told me, Dave Kirshner, he's like, they're cycling 20, 25 days after that first clutch. I'm like, okay. And sure as shit, that's exactly what they did. And I think it was the 4th clutch where I'm like, all right, I'm screwed now because I need to figure out how to shut this down because I don't think it's, healthy. And the problem, especially when you go down in the cooling, like when I do, it's usually coinciding with her last clutch that I want to have her produce for the year. Because once you get them going, you can't stop them. They'll just keep going and going and going and going. You'll burn them out. So the balance is you want to give her enough food to be level for making up for all them eggs that she just got done laying and not eating all the time. And then kind of get it to plateau so everything is kind of even keeled where you start bumping it and it just keeps going. And she's like, before you know it, she's back in the cycle. And now you're like, well, shit, I can't shut her down because I don't want to fuck anything up. I don't want her to have the SCADA or have any kind of complications. Just go with it. And that's what happened with me that first year because, I'm missing little signals here and there. I'm like, nervous. And I'm like, all right, I don't want to fuck this up. And then I'm like, shit, she's cycling again. So that was a learning curve for me. And it just basically, I learned, I'm like, you got to shut them down with the food, but you have to balance it to where she's getting enough nutrition without kicking her into another cycle because they'll just keep going. And that's, like you said, that's what happened with me.
Wow. And I'm curious because, you know, I know you work with obviously normal laces and bells, but I mean, when did you start implementing or start working with the bells? Or did you always have bells with the normals?
The bells I got was the first one I got. Personally, I'm more of a normal phase. I think they're prettier than the bells. They're cool. Don't get me wrong. I love my male. And they're amazing to see when they hatch. I mean, it's spectacular. But I fell in love with lace like when I was 9, 8, 10 years old. I was looking at an encyclopedia, and it was just a big southern locale lace, all banded black and white, just sitting on a big rock. And I'm like, that's a lizard for me. That's what I want. And, you know, my love affair with them started way back then, and it's always been those normals, just the southern locale ones. Because there's like 3 localities of lace in the wild. Your bells, your southern locale lace, and then your ones up north. So that whole east coast of Australia, from Townsville all the way down to, like, you know, South Australia and all that, the atypical lace that everyone has ever thought of in their mind is like, you know, the black with the bands and the blue in their face and the white and the yellow and all that, the real cool colors. Those are all pretty much found in the South. And the ones that are found in the North are more spotted. They're not as banded. They tend to have a little more brown and like faded, like gray coloration to them. And, you know, they're not as attractive looking to some people. Some people think they're more dynamite than the southern ones, vice versa. And then your bells are like in between all that. You know, I've seen bells that are, you know, like one of mine was a held back. I sold to Toad Farm, Jared Gray. He was black and white. Beautiful animal. But I've also seen bells like in the wild that are, you know, like wild pictures, not me personally seeing them in the wild. They're like brown and yellow. They look like shit. You know, I mean, I don't know if it was just the dirt they were in, but they just look pretty nasty. And I've also seen some spectacular looking ones as well. So, you know, they definitely have a nice varied pattern to them. But me personally, the southern ones are, I think, more my cup of tea than the bells or the northerns. So.
And your normal laces are more the northern ones, correct? Type, or they're more like a northern type?
Unfortunately, they're a mix.
Okay.
Horn, and I'm almost 100% positive the animals I got originated out of Europe, wherever John got them out of there. Whoever John got them from, or wherever that guy got them from, they had to come from Horn. Horn's line was very distinct with them animals having all black heads, all the normals.
Right.
All my adults, a lot of my normals, when their heads are jet black. And I also know from being out there and being at Horn's house, he had normals that were from like Northern Australia localities and Southern Australia. He just mixed them. So like the 2 lace, or that picture of the lace that's on his podcast on your YouTube deal, you know, he's got a lot of Southern in him with all that banding. So, but I also have, like him. So a lot of the spotting and all that he's got a little bit now, I'm thinking is going to kind of dive back down into just solid bands. Did I lose you again, or you just got that picture on there?
Right. No, I'm here. No, we're here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, Horn, he had a combo of the 2. I have the combo of the 2 right now myself. I have a male and a female both that, you know, basically like he's got a lot of southern. You can't really see so much because it looks like in a black and white photo. I don't know. But yeah, he's got like some southern traits to him. And same with the one female that I have that's I got a picture of her just basking.
Right.
You know, she's got a lot of the southern traits in her as well. And then, like I said, some of my other ones are heavily spotted, and They had a lot of the northern traits to them. So
And then
the other thing too is
good.
The real pure Southerns, which I have, unfortunately, a dead one in my freezer. They have yellow tongues. Northerns have pink tongues.
Wow.
Yep. And then you'll get some in between, like Kirshner had threw me for a loop with that back in the day. He's like, well, what do you make out of this? And it was like a lace out of Sydney, and it had like a pink tip and then a yellow base. It was like, I don't know what to tell you, because it threw me off. But it's just, it seems to be something consistent at the extremes on both ends. I mean, even like the far southern lace are like jet black. And it's because of how cold it is. They're shorter summers, and they need to get as much natural sunlight and grow as quick as they can. So that black coloration definitely, I think, helps them. And for those Veranda guys familiar with Steve Wilson and Matt Vincent's book, there's a big, on a cover, it's a big male being chased down in the ocean by like 3 or 4 dingoes or whatever. And that thing is just like solid jet black, except for a couple white bars on his lower jaw.
Dude, this is what I want, Brian. Really, really bad, bro. This thing is so badass.
That's my first ever produced.
Wow.
It's the first one I hatched out ever.
You gotta be kidding me. This is a prize here.
You gotta see her in person because she's like literally jet black. She looks like a mangrove.
Oh my God, I need this girl so bad. And what's production like for this girl? I mean, is she going for you this year? Did she already go?
She had locked up with the male that you were just showing, the tree hugger one. And
right.
I don't know what had happened, if she reabsorbed or what, but I just had something with my nesting. I fucked up somehow and nothing ever happened. And I since then corrected it. And now she basically, today's day 4 that she's off feed now.
Oh, wow. So you're getting to that point almost then.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so, and she's never produced for you. So, or she has?
No, I've gotten hatchlings from her before.
Okay.
She is one of my F2s, and
okay.
the other female is the one that ended up going to the Toad Ranch with that Belle, and I've gotten eggs out of her too.
And does she typically give you offsprings that look just like her, or how often are you getting ones that look like the mom?
I couldn't tell you because the ones that she, the eggs that I got from her, those animals are a couple years old now, or a year and a half old. I can't remember who got what and what they ended up turning out looking like. I usually keep pretty good tabs with my customers, and they give me like updates. I'm like, dude, check it out. But I've sold quite a few of these over the years. Wow. I produced over 100 now, so it's kind of hard to keep track with that many people.
Do you name your
not really.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never. I've had a couple animals that I've named in the past, but it was like for very distinct reasons. Like I had a Dragna hooked me up with this deal. I got a big Argus monitor from the Bronx Zoo. He was huge, like every bit of 5.5, 6 feet, and probably 30 pounds. He was a freaking monster. And I named him Bronx because he came from the Bronx Zoo. It was a perfect fit. But for the most part, not really.
And I'm curious, Brian, when you pair a normal to a Bales, obviously, what's the ratio do you normally get from that from your experience? I mean, do you normally get
go ahead. The first couple clutches, you're going to get more normals and bells, and then it starts evening out to where you're getting bell normal, bell normal, bell normal. I have yet to break it to where, I got, let's say, 9 eggs and only 8 make it, and 4 are bells and 4 are normals, or 6 are bells and only 2 normals. They're always pretty much even. I haven't done the bell to bell yet. Obviously, quite a few people have. But the ratio usually is pretty consistent after a couple clutches. First couple clutches, it's a heavier ratio of normals and bells. So it progresses.
I heard you're a big fan of the super bells.
Oh, God, yeah. My favorite subject.
Let's elaborate on that a little bit, because I mentioned that to Andrew, and he laughed at it too, and he's like I dare you to bring that up to Bryan and see what he thinks about the super bells. And I want to know what your take is on it, because I do see that some look different, slightly different when you go bells to bells. But I mean, what's your take on it?
Basically, the super bell terminology is in Danny Brown's book. It's a book that was, it's like a guide to Australian monitors. That super bell terminology is in a little sliver of a paragraph on lace monitors and on the bells in that book. And then Jay from Prehistoric Pets, he was out at Tinley, I think shortly after I got my bell. And I had a picture of it on my phone or whatever. And he was out there for the big constrictor deal where they're trying to ban berms and retics and all that. So they had a big convention at Tinley, which ended up becoming the March Tinley show. And I was talking to him about it. He's like, "Oh, you can make a super bell out of that." And I'm like, from the book? What are you talking about? I'm like, because that was like the genesis of it was from that book. And then I heard it from him. Right. And then, when Don was cranking out all his lace, so the way it's always been originated and the way it's always been explained from my end is that it's a clean bell as a result of you breeding a bell male to a bell female. Right. So when those offspring come out, you're going to have a couple that are dynamite looking. There's no fleckling in between the yellow bands. I mean, they're fucking super clean and all that, hence a super bell. And then it spun out of that to where, you're holding those clean pattern bells and then you're breeding those two together and you're producing more of super clean pattern bells, i.e. super bells. But now it seems to have spun out of control into the different aspects of, like the Python metrics with, dominant, codominant, het, this, that, like all this stuff that I'm really ignorant of. I'm not a real big, morph guy. And, if you take this and you breed it to this, you'll produce that. And then that percentage, I've never really been into it. And I think a lot of it too is because, a lot of the monitor dynamics, they're not the same as like a snake. They're a lot more advanced. Snakes are pretty freaking primitive. I mean, not to say that it's not possible within the whole complex or clade of the Varanus in general. But that being said, maybe it's correlating to a lot of these other species not being bred to oblivion like they have with like waters or with like ackies and, what else? Another, like even like the tree monitor complex. So going back to like the super bell and, I've heard of the snow bell and all these different.
So there's like a blue phase supposedly out there, like a blue phase bells.
I guess. I'm Mike could verify to Stefani. I'm colorblind, and Mike comes over and he's looking at my bell and he's looking at some of my normals. He's like, "Dude, those things are just loaded with pink." I'm like, "I don't see pink anywhere. All I see is like yellow." He's like, "No, dude." He's like, "There's fucking pink all over their tails and in their face and all." I'm like, I can't tell. I'm colorblind. I don't know. So, right. But I think as more and more of the bells are, produced and people are using the cleaner and cleaner ones, who knows? And I think the other aspect that kind of, sticks in my crawl, if you will, is that, up until 5 years ago, you were lucky to get a lace. And
right.
4 years ago, you were lucky to get a bell. And now it's like, well, do you have anything better than that bell? And I'm like, fuck you. It's like
for reals.
Yeah, it's like, again, they're not coming off the boat every 6 months,
Right.
because it's a new shipment coming in. And it's kind of like, I know the Australians have a big hard on with a lot of the American keepers, and I don't blame them, because it's kind of like, it's never good enough. It's like, I need to, I've had this conversation with people before. It was like, if I ever got perennies and I bred them and had them marked at a certain price, people 3 years down the road would be like, dude, you want how much for a fucking perennie? It's like, really? Are you serious? I memean, it's like, they're perennies. You can't get them. This is it. Well, do you have like a high-end perennie or like it's like, at times it's so aggravating where it's like, because I'm an old guy. I'm 51. Back in the day, there was no Facebook, no King Snake, no nothing. You had like a handful of dipshits in Florida that you were lucky to get a price list from. Right. And, if they would even answer the phone, you'd be like, can I, like, yeah, this is what you want. This is what you're getting. I mean, I don't know how many times I've gotten animals from Florida that were, super smoking on their little stupid price list, and they come in like fucking skeletons. And it was like, right. Hey, yeah, you make the most of it. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. I think the way everything has grown in this industry, I think it's fantastic. I think there's a lot of great that's come out of it. But I think, but that's the thing too, is that, it's kind of spoiled a lot of people where it's like, I mean,
lazy.
Well, it's not only that. I mean, it's the other half of it too. Is I think at times people forget from a breeder's perspective, and I've been guilty. I mean, everyone's been guilty of it. It's like, oh, dude, you can't do better than that. And it's like, do you know how much time and sweat and toil and bullshit I've had to go through to get to this point? And like breaking your balls, building cages, and humping fucking lumber, and fucking driving a screw in your fucking nail, and you're like, I got to get this thing done, and fighting rain and shit, and all that crap that goes into it. And on top of that, just everything that you put into it, only to be like, you can't do better. It's like, no, I can't. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. So it's the spoiled aspect of this hobby at times. It's enough to, drive you fucking nuts. And I think it's chased away quite a few good people in this hobby that are like, like Brad Sasvidal, the water monitor guy. I fucking love Brad. I've known Brad a long time. He's like, dude, I'm done. I can't deal with the people anymore. Yeah. And God bless it's a shame, because he did a lot of great work and he produced a lot of really nice looking waters. But it's the same with Chris Brown. Chris, another great guy. He couldn't deal with guys hounding him at like 2:00 in the morning about $100 retic, who wants to make payments, and hey, can you send me 50 photos while you're at it? And he's like, dude, it's a fucking $100 retic, Yeah. So anyway, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent about all that shit.
It makes sense because but also a lot of people don't understand. Well, people fucking ruin everything. I mean, humans just ruin everything, and it's unfortunate that a big thing that people could ruin are pushing the people who are just introverts and just like to work with animals, who are still having a business, but rather just be what they are and just fucking be with the animals and not have to deal with people. You know what I mean? And I mean, dude, fuck, I get fed up. I mean, I'm not a monitor breeder, but I sell a lot of snakes, and just I get more hackled and more fucking. I get more people tugging on my fucking chain about a goddamn $300 snake versus the 5-6K snake selling very easily. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It could get very old at times for sure, but I mean, I'm still kind of fresh into this, so I can only imagine what your buddies are going through with that.
Yeah, it's not that bad, but it's every once in a while you just get that row of people, and you're just like, why am I even doing this? But to jump back real quick to the Super Belt thing, since it's not something that I'm shy of, or I'm like, I'm not going to say my piece on it. So the current, this was brought up at Monitor Fest here too. It is now that the Super Bell, from a breeding perspective, is, what the hell, co-dom or dominant or whatever. It's basically where if you have a super bell, no matter what you breed it to, you're going to produce all these, super bells. And I'm like, no, because, I've yet to see anyone who's bred bell to bell and produced normals out of it. Now, in all fairness, Alex at Tinley, the day I met you, that last Tinley here, he had mentioned that, he did it. He's like, dude, I got a super bell, and I paired him up with this female and a normal, and all I got was bells. I'm like, if you did, I'm not.
Those.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is I'm dying to see the rest of that clutch because it's it'd be a first, and I guess that would possibly crystallize it if he's able to continuously do it. Then yeah, there you go, a super bell, and
if he repeats that again this year, then that proves the point. But there's also a possibility it could be a fluke.
Yeah, but it'd be a hell of a fluke because, again, back in the day, talking to Australian guys and all that, it's like, no, that's not how it works. If you got a normal in that equation, you're going to have normals. And if you got bell in the bell, that's all you're going to get. So,
right.
It's always kind of been the dynamics of it. Normal and normal, nothing but normals. Normal and a bell, split, bell to bell, all bells.
How do you approach your breeding season each year? Do you do repeat pairings? Are you switching it up? How do you like to approach each year?
Basically, I try to stay on schedule with the same recipe that I've been doing, the same heating and cooling situation, same thing with the diet, the power feeding. And then basically just making sure I got enough of the ratio of male to female to breed. So I'm not, I've never bred any of my hatchlings back to the adults. They're always, it's sibling to sibling, which is fine, but never back to the adults. And then I've also incorporated other animals I got one from Don, a normal that's added into my bloodline. And then I got another normal it probably came from Don at some point that, was not part of my original deal. So I'll be splitting it up. But as far as, the whole, hey, what I'm going to set up this year and I'm trying to just concentrate right now with the normals and pair up the ones that I think are, going to make for some nice banded babies is what I'm shooting for. That's kind of my goal, is to get to just nice, heavily banded, lace. And basically that the genetics that I have with the animals that I have, because they have a lot of that black and they have some of that southern blood in them, it'd be the same thing with the bell analogy where you're trying to concentrate on breeding your cleanest bells to one another so they're nice and clean. So what I'll be doing is trying to concentrate any of the hatchlings I get that have a heavier banding to them to kind of hold those guys back and see how they develop, and then hopefully start getting those guys to start pairing up together and eventually, I guess mainline breed them into nice banded, lace.
Okay. Now, I'm curious, Bryan. I don't know if this is true or false. I mean, you obviously work pretty deeply with both bells and normals, but I'm told that normals are a lot harder to get to tame down and chill. They're more likely going to fuck you up than a bells. Is that true?
No, not at all. My bells is super laid back, but he's also taking a big chunk out of my hand. My normal female, that black one, I could do anything to her at any point. There's never a problem with her. My other female normal, I actually named her Mortimer. She's same thing. I go in there and grab her anytime I need to. My males, once they realize I'm not feeding them, they're fine.
Right.
So yeah, I don't think it's a bell or a normal difference in behavior. you know.
Which one do you feel like you sell easier? Do you feel like you sell your normals quicker or your bells go quicker? Which ones?
I think it's about the same.
Right.
My bells are not. I don't skyrocket them price wise. So I'm kind of competitive with that. Also, because I'm not, like, hey, these are bell to bell. You're like, hey, this is a normal female and a bell male. Actually, the 2 bells I have for sale right now are the last 2 ones I'll be producing anytime soon. So from here on out, it'll be pretty much normals. I think it's going to work for me in the long run because, everybody is bell crazy. And then when my normals do pop up, they usually sell pretty good. So I think maybe to answer your question is because there's not as many normals and, they're priced relatively decent. So they go pretty quick. And then my bells, like I said, because they're not, super clean or whatever, because of their price, they go pretty decently as well. So I'm kind of nice, even balance, I guess.
What's your opinion on the prices or the market on the bells and normals? I mean, I'm told by some people that price will go down and that it fluctuates. But what's your opinion on it?
I think it's. I put it like this: the $10,000 bell prices. I don't think we'll ever see those again. And I also don't think that you're gonna ever see them down to like $1,500. So as far as the even keel of it, I could still see like the $3,000 to $6,000 with the bell probably being on the higher end, and the normals, staying in like that $3,000 to $4,000 range. Sometimes even a little higher. Like I produced these zebras, which I've been calling them, that I want. They'll probably be like $5,000 or $6,000, and it's not because they're spectacular, which they'll be, but because there's not going to be a bunch, a whole shitload of them. So it'll be kind of like, well, hey, you can have the best of the best, but it's going to cost you a little bit less, or a little bit more. Where maybe over time, if that's all I'm producing and I'm shitting out like 30 of them a year and they all look nice and banded like that, it's like, well, then there's no point in, trying to control the market and be like, well, they're going to be $7,000 no matter what. I mean, I could see them dropping down and being somewhat reasonable price wise. Otherwise, you'll be you're out of it then. You can't maintain and, it's just, you'll be sitting on stuff. And part of me doesn't want to get to that either. I don't want to be, in a situation where it's like I got 60 lizards that I need to move within the next month and I need to get top dollar for them, and you'll just sink. You can't sustain that. Even if I got a shitload of room, I can house them, but 2-3 years later, if I'm still sitting on my, I need this X amount of money for them, they're going to be sitting here. And then, I'm going to be feeding them more than what they're worth as far as what I'm trying to get out of them. So, like I said, you got to have a balance. And I think the other half of it too, which is sometimes unfortunate, what will happen with sometimes when I sell shit, they're putting them in freaking aquariums. Like, dude, you just spent, almost $6,000 on a lizard and you're putting it in a fucking 20-gallon aquarium. Really? You got to have a cage, and try to tell people too that I'll be talking to Mason Barnes, we're texting back and forth. I was telling him the other day, I'm like, Mason, you want to really get into these guys and you want to keep your, I'm like, you better buy a pickup, you buy some good quality power tools and start to learn how to do your own electric.
That's the way.
Because you're going to have to build all this shit. You can't buy, a 10 by 10 by 10 freaking PVC cage. There's no way. And if you find someone that's going to do it, good luck on the price.
Yeah. So are you against? Hold on, because I have something like that being built as we speak, coming to my house. So what do you feel like having a PVC built something that big isn't suitable for a lace monitor? What's your cons on that? I'm curious.
I guess again, going back to did I lose you?
No, I'm here. I'm listening.
Okay. MJ, I've always built my own cages.
Right.
It's because, again, back in the day when I was coming into this, like I said, Niles were like a big part of my life. I loved them. And, I'm dealing with like 4 or 5 foot wild caught, just spastic Niles. And I'm like, I can't put it in a 50-gallon aquarium. I'm like, the thing is as long as the aquarium. I'm like, I need to make cages. So
Right.
I guess I've never looked at that aspect of it. And that kind of started coming along into the hobby with the, more and more people keeping, like greens and berms and, all these different pythons. And it was like, hey, here's a perfect cage for it, and there you go. And then started crossing over a little bit with people keeping Ackies and some of the smaller monitors. And I get it. It's like, well, hey, if it works, then, I can't knock it. But, you can't do that with Waters. You can't do that with Niles. You can't do that with Argus. You can't do it with the Lace. You can't do it with croc monitors. I mean, you have to, essentially over time, you got to make your own cages or find someone that's going to do it. Or like in your case, if you got a manufacturer that's able to make one that big out of plastic or whatever, have at it. But
It wasn't cheap.
no, I'm sure it wasn't. And the other half of it too, though, is that, I don't have like a big open box. I got ledges. I got big logs. I mean, I got logs that are like the diameter of my chest in some of my cages.
Right.
I mean, they need that. So you can't, like I said, it's too hard to find a manufacturer that I think, can make them that big. That's relatively inexpensive. And then on top of that, like, oh, hey, I need 8 of them because, I got freaking X amount of, males that I need to house. So,
I mean, at the end of the day, I only have my pair. I don't plan on getting too ballistic with it. And I can tell you right now, if I ever do want to get to that route, I for sure would be building my own cages for sure. It's just not really feasible just going that route because not only do I have to wait a long time, I did spend a lot of money too. So it's almost better just to build your own for sure. If not, it costs more cost efficient for sure.
Yeah, I was just ironically going through that same thing earlier this year with some tree monitors I was getting, and basically the couple manufacturers I talked to are like, our prices are going up, and you're looking at about a 9-month lead time. I'm like, all right, and the amount that I need it, they're like, yeah, we can't give you a deal. I'm like, all right, so just started making my own. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to finish them. There's still one of them's right to the left of me, but I'll get them done, and they're actually bigger than the plastic ones that I was going to get, and they'll probably work just as fine. Thankfully, Persimmons don't need a bunch of room, but they're still, they're like 5 foot by 3 foot by what the hell else? Or I think another 5 foot tall or 4 foot tall. So
Bryan, for anyone out there who's thinking, I want to get into this, but I'm curious, like, what are the cage steps? Like, meaning what's the first enclosure size it's in as soon as it's born? What's its subadult size? What's its adult size? That kind of thing.
Yeah, they're usually, the first couple months, 6 months tops, you could get away with like a 2 foot by 2 foot, square, 2 foot
Right.
wide, 2 foot tall, 2 foot, as long as you got some
Contained.
accessibility for them to climb and kind of
Right.
get off the ground. Like my hatchlings right now, that my 2 bells and that killer normal of mine, they're in a 5 foot long by 3 foot by, I think, 3 foot tall cage, and it's got a big concrete ledge that I put in there right in the middle. The whole thing's concrete. And then at that upper ledge, I got all my basking lights. There's a bunch of big branches in there, and there's a bunch of fake plants and cork flats and stuff. So they got everywhere to kind of maneuver. I think she actually put that picture up a little while ago with that normal that was in that cage. That cage, they could probably last a year in there before they start having to go into their own, sizes. Females in general actually don't need that big of an enclosure. Like my females are both in a 4 by 4 by 8. I want to get them out of there just because those cages are kind of they're long in the tooth. They've ran their course, so they need to be replaced. But
Right.
if I was to change anything, I'd probably go another 4 foot, maybe, or 2 foot, maybe like a 6x4x8 form, or even a 6x4x4.
What's this
There's
one
enough
right here?
for female.
It's like a shower stall here, but this is for your green tree monitors. Is that correct? Or what's this going on here?
Yeah, that was for one of the tree monitors.
Okay, cool, awesome.
Yeah.
One thing I did look at though here is I'm looking at this really awesome build here because I'm assuming this is for one of your adults, correct? You there?
Yeah, this was going to be for my Bell and my buddy Tony. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. There's a little bit of a lag, but you're good. Go ahead.
Can I hear you?
Yep, you're good.
Yeah, so me and my buddy Tony were working on his cage. And again, we didn't finish it. But my Bell male is supposed to go in there. But I'm changing my mind on it because it's the concrete. Surprisingly, he's, because he's in a different cage, and the cage next to him, the same thing. It's got that same vertical concrete in it. And unfortunately, I'm watching some of my younger males who are a lot more versatile than he is because they're a little bit smaller, their claws are a little bit sharper. Yeah, they're kind of like sliding off of it. And it's kind of hard to tell in that picture, but that big branch that's like right above the ladder, there's like a big rock, like a chunk of rock here, and then there's another chunk of rock like another 1.5 feet away, and it's like a straight drop. So what you can't see is to the right where that branch looks like it goes right into the wall, which it kind of does. There's a big rock ledge up there.
Right.
And if he left that ledge and he tried to get to one of those other little rocks that are jutting outside of the wall, sure, he could reach it, but if he missed and he lost his footing and he goes straight down, it'd probably kill him, break his neck or his back or whatever. But, because he's going to fall straight down on the concrete. So it put a damper on putting him in there. I got another cage that is to the left of me right now. It's an 8-foot square, but it's a nice big open space, and all the ledges are a lot bigger, and it's not going to be as tall because that thing is 10 foot tall.
What were you sculpting this with? Like, is that concrete? Is that what you're making that out of? Concrete?
Yeah, it's called it's a vertical concrete, and it's a vertical concrete company that's right up the road from where I live out in Morris, Illinois. It's called Waltz Tools, but it's called True Pack X, and it's a little 15-pound bag of like a fibrous concrete mix that you throw in with an 80-pound bag of regular mason mix. So when you mix it all together, it sticks to foam. So there's a lot of foam that was basically on the back of that wall, and you just throw the concrete on there and it sticks to it. So, yeah, it's a vertical mix that's just made by this local company out here. So they had the True Pack X, which is what that is. And then they have another one called the True Pack V, which is more for, what do you call it? For like carving, which I have some here. I have yet to try it. And again, because of that freaking appendicitis, I couldn't do anything because I can't lift anything over 20 pounds right now. So I'm kind of, stuck because them bags are, 80-pound bags. And then once you mix a batch, you got like another 100 pounds. And, when you're doing concrete, it's a mess. And it's a ball breaking, back breaking day when you're done with it. You're freaking wiped out. Me and him, Tony, I think we got 15 bags in that right now. So that's 100 pounds a bag.
100 pounds a bag. That's a lot, bro.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Damn. Now, I mean, let me ask you, we didn't really talk about, your tree monitor projects. What's going on with those right now, if you don't mind me asking?
Shit show. So I go to Tinley and I buy these 3 dynamite green trees. They're all, I don't know, probably about a year old.
Okay.
They're perfect. They're all beautiful. Get them for a good price. Get them home. And I'm like, all right, I got 2 cages that, and it's a buyer beware kind of a deal, like an idiot. I'm like, all right, I sold some lace. These are here. I'm like, you know what? I'll just fucking make it happen. I got an open cage or two I could use. So I ended up getting them home. I sent them up in one of these cages, and I'm in my glory, sitting out here having a scotch, having a smoke, just unwinding from Tinley, and these little fuckers are running all over the place, and I'm happier than pig and shit because they're awesome,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I got to go to work, so I go to bed and get up in the morning, and I come out here in the barn and turn on all my lights, and the one is hanging on to an airline because I have a fucking water feature inside of there, and he's fucking cold. And the fucking other one is at the bottom of the fucking pool, belly up, deader than shit. So I was fucking livid. Yeah, my mistake. I fucked up, and I think I woke up the neighborhood with the amount of fucking yelling I was doing at like 5 o'clock in the morning out here.
I'm confused. What killed them? I don't understand. What
She
was
drowned.
it?
She drowned.
Oh, she drowned.
Yeah.
Whoa. Got it.
Mm-hmm. So then another buddy of mine, he sent me 3, long-term captives that are shit. I actually sent them to Kathy Brown. She's working with them right now. So the tree monitors are kind of on hold. Yeah, but the 2 that I have are dynamite now. The 2 that survived the boating accident. They're fine. They're doing really good. And the other 3, like I said, Kathy Brown is the reptile whisperer. She does phenomenal jobs with trees. She's like, yeah, she was here for Monitor Fest and seeing them. I'm like, I'm embarrassed to show you because they literally came in like this. I'm like, and I wasn't expecting them to be this shitty. And she's like, I could fix up the one. I'm like, you could take all 3. So she's got all 3 of them. She's working with them, which is fine because I ended up today fixing the pump inside of that cage that them tree monitors were in, not the other ones. But I got sail fins coming here this week. I got
4 really?
Yeah.
From who? Blake Wilson?
No, not this is a buddy of mine in PA, Andrew Llewellyn. You should have him on your thing. Andrew's bred a lot of monitors. And another guy, Bryan, another buddy of mine who's bred a lot of monitors. He's bred Molinas. He's like the only other guy in the country that I know of that's bred them. But anyway, so I got the sail fins coming, and I just bought 6 green basilisks from Eric Haycraft. I got those this week. Those things I've been a big fan of certain gamuts for fucking a long time. And I've always put them off because I've always got some monitor fucking deal going on in the background. So I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I waited so long. I want to get them. And then Devin Douglas, he's out of Florida. I've been wanting Australian water dragons for a long time. And it's another species I kept putting off. And actually, when I was in Australia, I met Steve Irwin Zoo. And the guy that I was there with, who used to work there, we're walking across this little bridge over one of the croc exhibits. So there's a big male croc here and a big male croc here. And there's a divider and there's this little bridge. And I'm talking to him and as I'm walking, I booted this big freaking like 3-foot water dragon male and like kind of knocked the wind out of him. And he scooped them up and he ended up taking them home back to his house in Brisbane and he kept it. But yeah, I've always been in love with the Australian water dragons, and back when Bernie was, Bert Langworth was cranking them on, I never got them. So, ironically, I'm talking to Bryan Taraka, and the Australian water dragons come up, and I'm like, dude, I really got to get some. I'm like, they're waiting too long. I go on YouTube, and Dave Kaufman has a video of his visit to Devin Douglas's place down in Florida. And I watched the video. I'm like, well, shit, he's, and then I realized the video's like a year old. I'm like, fuck, I wonder if he even has him. So turns out he's got him on Monitor Morph or whatever. And I ended up getting a hold of him. And so I'm buying the 3 of them from him. He's got a shitload of them they cranked out. But yeah, it was just a weird twist of fate that, like I said, I went from all these lace cages and tree monitors. And I'm like, well, I need sail fins. I want my basilisk and I want my water dragons, and that all perfect circle happened like within the same span of 3 days.
The stars aligned.
Yeah.
Dang.
So yeah, Devin Douglas, that's his name. It's Seymour Exotics, but he's got a shitload of water dragons right now, Australian. So anybody looking for them, get them. The plan is, I was talking to Mike about it the other day. I'm like, dude, once I get these Australian water dragons set up, send me a male Mertens. I'm going to put them on display, do a species deal with that. And then I want to do the same with the basilisk with some caiman lizards, and then probably one of Mike's killer coming eye with the sailfins, possible. So,
damn.
But,
So I mean, with all these things that you have potentially about to go down, I mean, I'm curious. I mean, are you a one man team, Bryan, or do you have like a squad that helps you out with everything? What's your like?
No, it's pretty much me. My buddy Tony Manarezin, I can't even pronounce his damn name. He's probably freaking yelling at the phone right now. He's my deconstruction buddy. Tony, I used to do road construction. Now I haul heavy equipment. So Tony, road construction out here, you get laid off in the winter. So you got like 4 or 5 months to do whatever. And then when you come back to work, they fucking work the shit out of you. And he could, anyone in it could tell you, I hated it, because you're done for the summer. You can't do shit.
Right.
So anyway, when he gets laid off in the winter, that's when we started that big fucking monster cage you were looking at earlier with all that concrete. So, Tony would just come here because I'm at work. He's got the key to the barn. I'm like, dude, fucking do this, do that. And he's like, I'll do what I can when I'm there. And, we started cranking this shit out and, try to get as much as it done while he's laid off. And then, the Monitor Fest thing all this shit just like piled up on it. But for the most part, man, it's always been myself. And it's a pain in the ass because there's a lot of times building these fucking cages, you need 5 fucking hands. And, like them logs in that big ass cage, I heaved those in there myself. I thought I was going to kill myself because that fucker's got to weigh about 250 pounds. And it's just a big awkward piece. And my wife is like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, I got to get this branch in here. And, it's part and parcel with keeping big monitors, whether they're Crocs or lace or waters. I mean, it just goes with it.
I've never been so interested in branches and perches in my entire life since I got monitors. Like, that's all I fucking look for now are big fucking perfect. You know what I mean? That's all I want. And I try collecting them and just having a stack, and because you never know, you know what I mean? So I love looking for that shit.
Yeah, and I find, like, it's funny is there's one half in the Bell's cage right now, and the other half of it's next to my, other side of the wall here. And I was on Owen and Eric's Morlea Python podcast years ago.
Right.
And, Eric or Owen had been out here, and he's like, dude, where the hell do you get those big branches from? I'm like, ironically, on the way home from work today, some big ass fucking tree fell, and I found half of the section of it. It was all hollowed out, and I'm like, I threw it in my pickup, and I brought it home. So I'm like, yeah, sometimes you luck out, and you'll see them on the side of the road, and, it's like, fuck, I got to come back and get this because it's a nice big hollow section because, again, you can't find that shit. And if you do, pay an arm and a leg for it. I mean, you get a cork tube that's, this freaking big and it's 5 feet long. It's going to cost you fucking $500. So you could find it in the woods. Have at it.
So, Bryan, I have a wrap-up question before we get into some hot seat questions, okay?
Very good.
My question for you really is just some of the common mistakes you see first-time monitor keepers make that you could maybe mention and give awareness to anyone out there who's looking to get into monitors for the first time, or maybe already have one and they have it in the tank. They don't know what the fuck's going on. But what's your advice, and maybe just a little bit of heads up for anyone out there, or maybe they're in it and they don't have a clue, but any advice for anyone out there who's just getting into monitors?
Research. Do a lot of research. If you're going to get a captive bred animal, if that breeder is worth his salt, he'll spend all the time in the world and tell you everything you fucking need to know. I've guided quite a few of my customers who they wanted a lace. They've only had a few monitors. And, the very first thing I'm like, what do you know about them? They're from Australia. I'm like, I know, but what do you know about them? Not a whole lot. What do I feed them? Can I keep them in an aquarium? So that's a good starter. The other half of it, which probably annoys me the most, is you have the world at your fingertips as far as information that is out there that you could cross-examine from a million different fucking resources, and people are too lazy to do reading. I mean, shit. The Monitor Fest thing alone was enough to drive me crazy, where it's like I had a block of rooms at a rate at the hotel up the road from my house, and 6 people.
Oh shit. His rant made him go off. No, we're almost there. Damn. Damn, right during the thick of the rant. It's all good. He'll come back. Come back. We're almost done. Thank you for everyone who's tapping in. Shout out to everyone who's tapping in. Hit the like button. Let's get the likes up for the homie Bryan Waterloo. We're just wrapping things up. And we're going to get into the hot seat questions here after he gets done. Or after he gets back. Damn, I need a haircut. Sorry, I kind of look bummy right now. I just don't care. I'm tired. Anyways, yeah, I'm having a good time. What's up with everybody? Hope everyone's having a good Sunday. What you guys got going on, man? I'm fucking hungry. I'm ready to eat. That's for sure. I guarantee this will probably walk him back to his pad, which I don't know why he would do that. Shout out to you, player. No, shout out to you, Dylan. Shout out to you. And they got Mason Barnes in the building. What's up, Mason? We were just talking shit about you, man. Did you happen to hear that part or no? Let me know. You could also rewind it. I'm just kidding. We're talking shit. It's always, dude, thank God. I am so hungry. Jesus, have those ready. I have a Trap Talk Zoom session after this, though. So little, not quite yet celebration yet. So hang tight. All right, listen. While we're waiting for Bryan Waterloo, I want to say I'm very excited for this coming week's podcasts that I have lined up. Somebody who's a part of my Patreon page, we're bringing her to the table. Her name's Jessica Hare from Hare Hollow Farms. It's going to be going down tomorrow, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Mad talk about what she has going on. She's very knowledgeable about testing for multiple types of diseases in reptiles and whatnot. So definitely be ready for that one because we're going to have a lot to talk about. And then Thursday, remote podcast is going down with my boy, Brandon Wheeler, the homie from Morelia House. It's going to be awesome. Be ready for that one in person, driving up to his pad. That episode's brought to you by my buddy Josh over at Scale, Fins, and Feathers. Shout out to my boy Josh. Please go give him a follow on Instagram. And yeah, hope Bryan comes back here soon. Because, yeah, gotta love it. These OGs and technology. He's a sick-ass monitor breeder, though. That's what matters. You know what I'm saying? But I hope everyone's doing good. Who's in the building? Damn, shout out to everyone in the building, man. Hope everyone's having a good night. Here he is. And he did go back to his house, for sure. What's up, buddy?
I don't know what happened, but...
Oh, good. We're almost done.
You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Yep. So, yeah, finish what you were saying. Go ahead and we'll get into the hot seat questions here, Bryan.
So, basically, like I said, just do your research. There's a lot of information on the internet. Learn about the species you want to keep. Learn about where it's coming from, most importantly. And then, you got to kind of put everything together and ask a lot of questions. Don't be afraid to do that. But like I said, if you're looking for a specific species and it's available from a breeder, try to get as much info from that breeder as you can. And if they're worth their salt, they'll tell you everything you need to know.
There it is. Hell yeah. All right, Bryan, let's get these hot seat questions up and going. You ready for these hot seat questions?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Hot seat questions for Bryan Waterloo coming in hot. You ready, Bryan? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Frozen Thought or Live?
What's that?
Frozen Thought or Live?
Yeah, unfortunately you're breaking up.
Yeah, man. Go ahead and exit out and come back in. I don't know. We got to get these hot seat questions. I have not had one episode where we don't get the hot seat questions, and we will make it happen. God damn. I'm going to have some like fucking training. Like if I ever bring up the next OG who comes on this show, we're going to have like a we did fucking sound check, but you can tell I'm hungry, huh? Jesus. Hopefully he comes back. If not, I'm shouting out fucking this week's podcast one more time. And then I'm going to go to my Trap Talk Zoom session. Come on, Bryan Waterloo. What is good? Oh, shit. What's up? Alex and Sandra in the building. What is good, everyone? Thanks for being here. It's all good. Every day is a cleaning day for me. Speaking of cleaning day, getting really ready for Trap Fest 2022. That's going to be amazing. Shout out to my Patreon members who's attending Trap Fest 2022, but that's going to be sick. God damn. There? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go. Ready? Frozen Thought or live? I don't think this is going to work.
Frozen thought.
All right. A cut or no cut?
No cut.
Bell phase lace or normal lace?
Normals all day.
Yay imports or boo imports?
50-50.
I need yay. It's one or the other. It's yay or boo.
Yay.
Okay. One reptile you could import from anywhere today. What would it be?
Variety.
One reptile we should never import ever again. Leave it alone. Ooh, you there?
Did you get
I
that?
didn't hear you. You're breaking up. Oh, man. All right, Bryan Waterloo, that was amazing. Thank you so much. You're the man, bro. Bryan Waterloo, ladies and gentlemen. Holy shit. I appreciate you guys so much. I'm so sorry for the end of that. We did get half the hot seat questions in, but, I mean, the clicking and all that, I mean, listen, it's a wrap. I appreciate you guys so much. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, drop a comment. Let me know how you like this podcast or what you did not like about the podcast. Hey, listen, fuck the technical difficulties. We got a lot of information out of this guy, and he is very player. We will have another episode. That's for damn sure, and I'll walk through this with him again. Promise you. But listen, appreciate you guys. Thank you for spending your Sunday. You guys are awesome. Your Sunday here with me, and you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Like I said, don't forget, it's going to be going down tomorrow night. Jessica Hare in the building from Hare Hollow Farm. Trap Talk, new breeder on the block series. Just be ready. It's going to be fucking sick as fuck. And then also, like I said, I just mentioned remote podcast going down this Thursday with my boy, Brandon Wheeler of Morelia House. Going to be sick. Going to be awesome. Go down to the link and set your reminder. All right, guys, listen. Enjoy the rest of your night. Trap Talk Patreon members, I'll see you in about 3-ish to 5 minutes, okay? You guys got the link. And if you want to join the Trap Talk Patreon Zoom session, go down to the link and join the Trap Talk Patreon family. What is good? Come be a part of us. You know what I'm saying? Thank you so much for all your guys' support. I really fuck with you guys tough, man. Enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Cheers!